Insight and awareness, spiritual explorer. Soul intuitive, emotional and spiritual mentor and award-winning author, Lorraine Nylon.
Welcome explorers, I'm your host Lorraine Nylon, and today we have a special treat. We have the Hero Tribe, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves because they're an international team that supports people to fully engage in their hero's journey and to live their dreams and to follow their soul purpose. And that's what spiritual exploring is all about. The Hero Tribe's mission is to take people out of the ordinary world and send them on a personal hero journey. So we're going to have to ask you guys what that means. And they believe that everyone has the slumbering potential to be a hero in their own life story. So who have we got here today that's representing the team? Do you want to start, Joanne?
Yeah, I can start. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Lorraine. And I'll just start with talking a little bit about myself and then I guess what the three of us in total with the Hero Tribe have created, which is the spread within the lines. So I actually come from a scientific background. I studied environmental science and landscape ecology, and throughout my own health path, or more maybe path of disease and problems, I stumbled more and more onto this spiritual development journey where I actually realized all the problems that I was seeking and trying to find solutions for with other people in the environment and also in my own body. It brought me back to the only thing that I really actually need is connection and healing the wounds that are within me. And if we all do that, then environmental problems won't be such a big deal anymore anyway, because we're just projecting, from my perspective, our own disbalance onto the environment we're living in. And so that brought me to working with Camilla and Sascha in the Hero Tribe. And we have been long-yeared friends before that already and started, well, with creating these beautiful retreats where we always wondered like, oh, isn't there like a holistic camp or retreat where you not only do yoga or not only do martial arts, but where you actually take care of your whole system, your energetic body, your emotional body, your physical body, go out to outside adventures, but also inner journeys and inner adventures. And since we didn't find anything like that, we just thought, hey, let's create it ourselves. And that's how it all began. And now we're sitting here with you.
Yeah, I'll make my own. So how does all this work? That you take people on adventures to help find themselves? Yeah, is that how it works, Sascha?
Yeah, it's definitely how it started. So my background is martial arts, and I always looked for the mystic aspect in it. And I actually started that a couple of years before with adventure trips to the Himalayas, to India, to China. And I brought groups mainly from Europe and dropped them in this super extraordinary environment and brought them to masters to train with them, or we did trainings in a Tibetan monastery. And it's just so out of the normal environment that things are just happening and unfolding. And that was also kind of what was a foundation for what we brought into the Hero Tribe. But when we all came together, then what we realized is that yes, offering spaces in the extraordinary, how we call it, so out of the status quo where we all live in our normal day-to-day surroundings, is great, but we also need kind of a process to support that. And that's when the hero's journey came in as a great concept behind it, because what it means to us is, well, as you know, there are many different archetype systems out there, and we love this archetypal thinking. And the hero, in a sense, is the archetype of all archetypes. I know in some archetype system there is a hero as one of the archetypes, but how we mean it, it's kind of the sum of all the archetypes. It's the slumbering human potential that we all carry, and that very often is hidden, that is buried under conditioning and suppression from society and all the little tricks that are played on us. So unleashing that and being me again, or discovering what that really is for us the hero's journey.
Right. And Camilla, how did you come into being part of so is the team the three of you? Are you the founders of the Hero Tribe?
Yes, that's right. So we are the three the founders, and I came in by my background is actually pursuing a career in the 5-star hotel industry, and I worked as a manager in Vietnam in a 5-star hotel, and I experienced a burnout by working 6 days a week, 9 to 16 hours, and really not knowing anymore what happiness is and how it actually feels, and going on the search again to understand that and to find what is my purpose also in life. And that's how I went to a Qigong class in Vietnam. And this Qigong class, my teacher was Sascha as well as Joana, and that's about 10 years ago. And that was my start coming actually into also the spiritual discovery of this world that was rather unknown to me prior to that. And that's where we met, where we became friends, where started to have these conversations of how we see the world and what we want to experience, and how we can bring it up in ourselves, but at the same time then as well, how can we help humanity in that way to bring more people on this path of discovering and really embracing that they are the main character in their lives. Because what we see is that so many people don't see themselves that way. And
no, that's right. They get on the bus and forget that they're actually the bus driver. So this is fascinating. So we've got a scientist, a martial arts, and a business person coming together, all with the common idea of let's explore the spirituality and find our soul purpose. It's brilliant. So do you just have retreats? What sort of locations? Because we've sort of got a bit of a international thing happening here. So where do you do? Is it retreats? Do they come for a week? Do they come for weekends? How does it actually all work?
Yeah, so we started off with our retreats, and we had them, or we have them in Italy, which is like a 2 weeks long retreat, and as well in France for a week, and in Poland for a week. We always love to take places where we interact then as well with nature that is given in that places. And so we are looking for these special places where we can also play in the outdoors, and discovering ourselves and our connection with nature in these places. And that's one part that we do. And then when traveling was a little bit restricted in the last years, we took the time to write our book, The Hero's Handbook. And from that, we got even more international, and took on more clients to work with them all over the world, to then create a experience to go on your hero's journey that then goes also over a longer time, and having this process really placed in place at your environment where you have your day-to-day challenges as well.
And what are you guys finding people are struggling with the most? Joanne, what do you think that people are really struggling with? Why are we not feeling that great about ourselves?
Well, that's a big question. I would like giving a rather short answer to what the people who come to us struggle with, because we're also attracting a unique kind of people, because we also have a unique kind of vibration going out as the Hero Tribe. The people who come to us, they usually have this impression of there is something missing. Something in my life feels a little too shallow, or as if I'm missing a piece of the puzzle. it often comes down then, when they think about it more, that they feel disconnected to their sense of purpose, that they feel like they're taking on roles rather than identifying with their true self in the multitude of what that actually means, with all those thousands of identities that we actually have. And I would say the desires of people who work with us is to ground within themselves more, to connect to their authenticity further, to regain a certain autonomy in their emotional state. And they're also visionary often, maybe because we are strongly visionary, that's possible, but often people have this life dream. Maybe that derived from their childhood times already, but often there's this thing that they always wanted to do. But then growing up happened and they never pursued that dream because they were going after security or whatever it was their parents thought they need to do or school told them to do. And so it often has to do with reconnecting to these old dreams and desires that are often very closely related to what it actually is that we perceive as purpose. And for us, it is totally clear it is not only one purpose that we have, but we can choose what purpose we want to follow, right? There's so many different purposes that we can live out, and our soul, from my perspective, offers us all these different options, and we can choose what refinement or what facet of that purpose do we want to bring into being, into aliveness. And with the work that we do, it always comes out differently, right? Because everybody is different, and we want to bring that individuality and that uniqueness further up, because we believe in that uniqueness and individuality, we give the greatest service. Because only in that unique perspective we can bring and also share with the world, we can take our space in the best possible way, also with a value for others. So in the work that we do, it always comes out different, but in a way we always manage, and it's sometimes miraculous, to bring people closer connected to what and who they feel they really are, and take steps of actually like action in the material world to pursue a path that is much closer, or even exactly the path that they have envisioned to live that purpose.
That's brilliant. I think I think for all of us, one of our sole purposes is to understand ourselves better. And then, we're attracted to different things that can help us find aspects of ourselves that that we don't see so readily. We hide a lot from ourselves that's quite natural within us, don't we? When I work with people, not for people, with people, what I find is I see a lot of really good qualities within them. And I can see just the potential of who they are. And, I can run workshops, and other people in the workshops can see that. And then when they get talking about themselves, they've got this completely different view, which is always negative, and it's lacking. So it's like, I'm presuming that part of what you're doing is bringing those aspects up for them so that they can see them through different techniques and experiences. So am I reading this right?
That's exactly how I feel about it. I sometimes feel like when you get this beautiful perspective on people when you do this work, we very often see our clients, and we see this vibrating package of potential with this beautiful storyline that brought them to this perspective where they are now, and everything they could do with it. And sometimes their surrounding does not see them that way, because they believe in the wounded story, and especially the person themselves, of course, often believes in the victim story that they created as kind of a cover up over this whole package of gratefulness, so of greatness and gratefulness. And yeah, that's kind of the job, I think, of the mentor, of the coach, to create a little opening, so the beautiful thing can pop out and unleash itself, because in the end we can't do that. It always has an intrinsic job.
Yeah. I would say I'm like a tour guide. I put the torchlight on, but you've got to go looking and you've got to do the exploring. And I just like point out the points of interest and then we see where we go. You know
Beautiful.
what I mean? Because and you can tell someone how beautiful their soul is and how wonderful they are and how kind they are. But until they can really understand that for themselves, it can sort of fall on deaf ears. But if they're exploring and they're turning up and doing, you know, the work, there's a spark in them that knows there's more to them. That's why they feel lost, and that's why they feel sometimes directionless. But that's sometimes to get us looking too. So I'm going to ask you the big question. I'm not sure which one wants to go first, but what do you think humanity needs to acknowledge and understand for us to evolve? Any volunteers?
Well, I can start. It's a beautiful question, and of course we are pondering that question for a while now, especially since the craziness got unleashed on this planet, which is a beautiful catalyst in the end, I think. And well, I certainly believe there is a lot of shadow to be understood, but that is just a transitionary phase. Don't know how long it will take, but in the end, what humanity really needs to understand, and we will, I think, is the interconnectedness of everything. If we understand that, I mean, the core wound of everything is separateness. And it also belongs to the journey. It's kind of, that's the hero's journey in itself. It's we've been separated, we separated ourselves, and we try to find a way back to a different kind of state of connection. It's not the same state where we started, and that's the purpose of the journey then. So I believe, which is happening in this very moment, that we slowly understand the interconnectedness of everything, that we are all one soul in the end, but as beautiful, unique fractals of it. And of course, with everything else, with every stone on the planet, with every other galaxy. And I think that's a process that will also, we jump to the next level now, and maybe there are more and more levels of understanding.
Yeah. And I think it starts with learning to respect yourself and really, like you said, deal with the shadow and understand what you're carrying that's actually stopping your potential, and it is actually separating you from the truth of who you are. So if someone is consumed with their resentment or their guilt or their blame or their shame or any of those things, it's actually separating you from who you naturally are. And if we just get that one little thing, it's a big thing when you start exploring it, but that our carried emotions are holding us away from being aware of who we are. I always explain to people, it's not that you're separated from your soul, it's you're separated from your awareness of your soul and the truth of where you come from, and the truth that we're all hopefully here to support one another, find our own uniqueness and experience life with joy and compassion.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you think humanity needs to acknowledge and explore, Camilla?
Yeah, I think as well that there is a gem hidden in if humanity would start to look more into their shadows, and if also we would open up in our society that this is a process that is important, that we all need to go through. Yeah, the cycle of I'm trying to hide whatever I've done or thought or felt, experienced, and in this kind of hiding, hurting myself and also hurting others, because I put so much pressure on myself that then I think as well, like, oh, other people need to do the same, and then this whole conditioning, continues. And if we could somehow be more open that everyone is unique, is a hero, and is on their own life story, and there is not one shoe fits all, but really you go through these up and downs in your life, and you're allowed to live them. You're allowed to have all these emotions that are in your body, and that we teach also children and teenager how to deal with these emotions. I think that would make such a huge difference in our society. And yeah, and that's what I really was a wish for people, that they allow to be more open, and also this vulnerability. That is the most beautiful thing, if someone shares with me their vulnerability, and I can, give space to them to allow it and to be there. These are the moments where kind of magic happens as well in our retreats, and yeah, working with people.
Yeah, we all like to be heard, don't we? You know what I mean? Like, there's a difference between just sitting there and talking, but actually really being heard, and you feel that, you feel when people are listening and supporting you at the same time, and that does a lot to make someone feel secure, so they can actually get in there and explore. And what about for you, Joanne? Like, what do you think humanity needs to acknowledge and understand for us to evolve?
This is such a big question, and I have like layers of answers on different abstractions happening at the same time, and I'm trying to narrow it all down, because I think there could be trillions of answers also in the future, in different timelines. What will we need in 100 years, right? Like, where, as Sascha explained, where will the next step start and end? And it's obviously all like a flowing organic process. But the sensation that came up for me most is the capacity to relate. And that goes in all directions, because I feel we have a distortion of awareness going outside of our body into the outer world, going into projection with other people, going into projection of material needs, and also a distortion of our self-awareness, as you just beautifully described earlier, Lorraine, that we kind of lost to value ourselves and the magic of wonder of life that we actually are. And we seem to have forgotten a lot, kind of a amnesia that gives us a new perspective. But I think now it's time to reconnect to old wisdoms that we have within, that does not belong to any box or category, but that is really innate to our aliveness. And also the capacity to be open and soft for different perspectives. What we have now, currently, what I feel is a very sharp and very narrow culture of judgment and separation. And if we would allow ourselves to not judge ourselves for a moment, that would probably also hold space and open doors to see that we are all on a sometimes challenging, sometimes beautiful journey, and stepping into a compassion into all directions. And then especially also for all these beings that have no human voice, right? Relating again to what is actually the substance that made me be? What is the soil that I'm living from actually receiving from me? Am I contributing to that as well? How do my relations feed me, and where am I in a toxic relationship with my environment? Right? Like, how can I give back to the elements, to the beings, and like physical beings, but also spiritual beings that live with me, that make me flourish as well? How can I create a balance in that as well? Or again, much more. And also that starts within, of course, connecting to all these parts that we have cut off, like from shamanic point of view. There is this phrasing of you lost a part of your soul when you had a trauma or a severe disease, or when you were suppressed as a child. Then there are certain parts of your soul, so of your life energy, that you disconnected from. And you perfectly described it earlier. You said it is not gone, but the awareness of the connection is gone. And in the shamanic work that I love to do as well, it's all about bringing back and strengthening that connection, giving space and giving nurturing to these parts of ourselves again. And in that, we can experience wholeness more and more. And then, if we are able, and that's a process that goes in entanglement with the outer world, of course, because it mirrors us. And with that wholeness, eventually we are aware to perceive the connectedness and wholeness outside of us as well. And probably now I was talking a lot about different things, but that's my mix, my cocktail of what I think is this question for me.
No, it's good. I love hearing, like, because every guest gets asked that question, and there's starting to be a little bit of a theme, like that we all are looking to be more open, more compassionate, and really come back to the true essence of who we are. We're just all saying it in different ways and explaining it in different ways. But that, to me, that seems to be the common theme that I'm seeing right across the board for all the guests. So you were talking about shamanic stuff. If someone's sitting at home and they know nothing, what does that word mean? What is that about? Could one of you explain what that is and how? Do you use shamanic stuff in your process? How do you do it? What is it, basically?
Yeah. So I started being on this shamanic path a few, 8 years ago probably, because sometimes we have these experiences in life. We're just, naively walking around, and then there are these signs like shamanism, people talking about it, and it became a thing that I was like, oh, that's a new word. What is that? And the word shamanism comes from, I think, from the Sami culture, or it's a Mongolian-based word. Yeah, and it basically, if I'm not mistaken, relates to the medicine work, the healing work, and what it is. Many people perceive it as a religion, which is not true. It is also not just a technique. It is a world perception. It is a worldview that consists of, first of all, everything is one and connected. Second, everything is alive. My cup of tea is materialized, so it has soul, so it has life energy, so it is alive. Everything that is vibration of aliveness, and we can work with all the energies to heal. Also to get sick, but we want to work with them to heal. And how that is done is to keep it in a tiny, nice little nutshell, by inducing trance, which can happen via sound, which can happen via also induced plant medicine. However, I like to work with sound, which can be a rattle or a drum, and you have a very repetitive sound, like a beat, like boom, 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 that is quite fast, and that changes, proven, the brain state. So you get into this hypnotic kind of state, and in that you have access to different sensations you usually don't have. And if you wonder now, okay, how does that look like? How does that feel? If you're not trained in it, it might, in the beginning, be perceived as a day fantasy. So many people who start to trance journey shamanically, they are not sure if what they have experienced they just made up or is real, right? And it's a very beautiful journey of reconnecting to the intuition again. And then the more that happens, the more magical things can appear, of healings that you've made, and connections that were reestablished. And shamanism, in a nutshell, is a path of healing, is a worldview and a perception of all of us, all of it being connected, being one, and being able to communicate with everything and everyone. And of course, there are rules. So we don't just work energetically with someone who we have not been asked by or received permission. So a shamanic practitioner always just acts when being asked about it, because there is only healing when the person is ready. And then I could probably talk for hours about it, but I think that's maybe enough for now about what it is. It is trancing to go into the non-mundane aspect, the non-mundane reality, to re-establish connections from the spiritual world or different worlds that can be traveled to bring back and reunite parts that have been missing, or to bring back healthy blueprints of organs, or all these different thousands of things one can do in the shamanic world connected
so
to this one.
Expands your awareness to beyond what we comprehend, really, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah. you
Yeah,
go.
it works very like metaphorically, which is beautiful. I am a very visual person. Others are very auditive or have other sensory input paths. And in the end, like often people ask after a journey, oh, what does it mean? And then I ask back, yeah, what does it mean? Like, how could I tell you what your picture means for you? I'm not in you and I'm not in your picture. So that's something we all need to find out ourselves. And that's how it is beautiful, because no one can tell each other what's right or wrong. It is a path of completely being on your own, of course, but with your spirit support. You do nothing without the spirit support, which is beautiful. So you're never alone, and you become much more aware of how connected you always are. It's also a great insight for people who feel separate and lonely, to reconnect to their spirit companions. And if practiced in a holistic way, it is also very resistant to spiritual bypassing or abuse, because, as I said, no shamanic master can tell you what's wrong or right, because you have to feel and ask your spirits yourself.
Yeah,
this is what I appreciate a lot about it.
Well, it is. It's an individual journey, isn't it? Like, it doesn't matter what kind of spiritual exploration you're on, and you can be supported, but it is still an individual journey.
Yeah, sorry. And it's also like I said in the beginning, I come from a scientific background, and many people might wonder, how can a scientist, travel into other worlds and meet funky beings there and, talk to energies? In the end, I realized more and more on the shamanic path that using shamanic trance journeys is also a quite scientific process, because I'm daring to travel into an unknown world with my instrument of awareness and cognition, and I'm finding out what works and what doesn't, right? So it has an inbuilt like a bullshit test, right? So I find out if something is just wording and just theory, or if it actually has an impact, and that's beautiful. And that we use in our camps and our programs with mentoring people for a long term, that we can not only teach them to find these treasures within themselves, but also do healings for them if that is something that they want, and if it suits into the process then.
So you guys interviewed a lot of shamans around the world.
I would say we interviewed very different types of personalities. There are some shamanic practitioners or masters in that group, but the idea was more like, okay, who could contribute to a book about the hero's journey, in this sense that it is the grand story of human development. Also, people who have a grander perspective and see more things that are happening on the planet and in human development at the moment. So there are a couple of amazing people, like Huna Flash, who is a Maori shaman traveling the world. He's on this secret mission of opening energy portals in different parts of the grid. And Keone Hanalei from Hawaii has kind of a memory of this family lineage going back 20,000, 30,000 years to what he calls Mu culture, so Lemurian culture, and he's kind of a lineage holder of that. So there are some really fascinating people in that group, and that's also kind of what is went into the hero tribe. Did that for a couple of years. I did that for decades before we founded the hero tribe, to search for traditions that are lost in a way or not available any longer to the majority of people. So I've been on a 2-year exploration trip, and that's also when we all came together after the trip, or in Vietnam by coincidence. And so it was always important to us that we bring in not one lineage, but many different fascinating aspects of different lineages. And I, coming from this martial arts background, was always aware that there are a lot of mainstream lineages out there, but they usually don't hold the the keys any longer. They don't hold the secrets any longer because they've been flushed out before.
Yeah.
In the process of commercializing it, in the process of making it available to the masses. So you kind of need the Gnostic, the mystic tradition in everything that you're looking for to find something that is really valuable.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love that. It definitely, you guys have definitely been on an interesting journey of you can feel that you've actually really explored lots of different things. You haven't just sort of gone like tunnel vision. You've like really widened out, expanded out to explore lots of things. So that's a wealth of knowledge in itself, isn't it? Just what you can what you guys have been exploring. So Camille, what for you has stood out the most in your journey? What was that big aha moment where you went, yeah, I'm on the path I was always meant to be? Joanne really likes that question. Look, she's laughing.
I'm super curious to hear your answer, Camilla. I love this question.
Yeah, this moment where I knew I'm on my path, I think really feeling the trust that I'm on my path is something that just kind of came with all the little bits and pieces. But so when I was in Vietnam and I worked there for the 5-star hotel and kind of saw my career going along that, becoming a hotel director at some point, that then made this decision, meeting Sascha and Joana, and also kind of having this calling inside of me that was saying like, hey, I don't know, there was just this idea, I want to be an entrepreneur. Actually, I didn't even kind of really knew what that meant, but it was just there, and I kind of started to integrate it into my meditation, and I opened a fitness studio then in Hanoi in Vietnam with a friend, and then I kind of enrolled, and actually there were for several years there was always like, again, I was like questioning myself, am I on the right path, because I really had to let go of this conditioning that came from my family, where it was like, okay, you study and you have a decent job and a family and you settle down and all this part, and then my mom was diagnosed with a sickness where the doctor said they can't heal her. And then it came that I met Joana and Sascha. I made the decision to go back to Germany. We made the decision to kind of start the Hero Tribe and build it up. And there was then came more this moment where I had the freedom to be at home with my mom and to support her, what I would have not had in this flexibility if I would have continued my path in the hotel career. And also meeting Sascha and Joana at that point where there was the start of this the start of the end time of my mom. It gave me a new perspective that I desperately needed, because my family, we were just hearing the voices of the doctors saying like, we can't heal her. And it was given in my family as a set thing. That's now the path. And working and getting to know Qigong and all the wisdom behind it with the 5 element system gave me a total new perspective on the world and how things can happen. And at the same time, there were all these little pieces coming in, from Louis Hay to also like the movie The Secret and all the similar things that were there, that just opened my mind to, okay, how can I support my mom now with this knowledge that is coming in? And I was able to give her certain like hope and freshness. Like I made a ritual with her every morning. We were thinking like, okay, so what is the great thing that can happen today? And what kind of miracles do we want to experience? And we just kind of played around, and she was thinking like, what's going on with my daughter? Like, changed. And
where's my businesswoman gone?
and also I taught her Qigong, practice Qigong with a DVD where Sascha is guiding you through it. and she loved it. And I gave her this, just a bit of magic and hope. That was a kind of really hopeless time at that point for us. That was where I kind of knew, okay, this is all happening for a reason.
Yeah.
And also when she died 2018, and this moment where that happened, there were I was now open to see the magic around it as well. There were like little things that happened around, and I felt that she was there. And yeah, just little signs that she sent me was a person that was called exactly the same name like hers, in a moment where I was just thinking about her and asking her, do you give me permission for the path that I'm doing? And then it's like this person next to me, hi, my name is Diana and I'm from Hungary. It's like, oh, like my mom. And a deer that appeared in the garden. And yeah, there just magic happened. And I knew, okay, I'm on my path. It's all happening for me. And yeah, I'm the hero of my story and I can create it as well.
Oh, that's brilliant. I think we might play Flip the Book so we can see where you three go, and just, yeah, I'm very curious to see how this is going to work. Who wants to go first? Volunteers.
I can go.
Okay, so we've got 3 books. So would you like the first one, second, or third?
The first.
First.
No,
And I'll mix up. Sorry, I'll mix up the order before you get a turn. So you still won't know. So this is Breaking Free. So we only use the back of this book. So the back of it talks about your soul and talks about your core essence. So that's sort of part of your authenticity, something that's very natural to you. You generally notice it missing. So for me, it's like joy. So if I don't have to be, walking around laughing all day, but if joy starts to be depleted, I notice it. So it's that's what I'm referring to when I'm referring to core essences. So you got to pick a number between 189 and 215.
I'll take 211.
211. All right. So we have 5 paragraphs to pick from.
Okay. Number 3.
Number 3. So that comes under the heading of trust.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'm going to read you out a little paragraph. Trust is unconditional love for naturally accepting your own significance within your present moment, and a result of valuing truth, which can be difficult when you have become jaded or scornful of life. Trust in others develop, as does trust in yourself. However, when you become cynical, you operate from trying to prove you are right about what or whom you distrust, including yourself. Cynicism leaves you frustrated by your own and others' unconsciousness, which may lead to you being protective of your own victim mentality or desire for control. This can mean you become disenchanted with life and focus on the indifference of those you interact with or observe. So what resonates with you there, or what are your observations? Where does it take you?
It takes me back to my coming into this world. And I resonate with many of the things, if not all of them. I can find all of them in parts of my biography. And it takes me back to the place, and I have just not so many years ago actually realized how tremendously that time from 0 days old to first couple of years actually really has impacted my whole character building, because I was brought into a family system where I felt on the one hand really loved and wanted, and on the other hand like suppressed, unwanted, maybe even hated, and like degraded. And so because I had this conflict with my brother, and it is really interesting because that on the one hand had like a very trusting lineage for me, but on the other a really distrusting and insecure and unsafe pathway for my life. And many of these experiences from that time, where I was always like, okay, I trust this person, but I'm really afraid of this person. And when am I safe? And can I actually also trust in me, because I was told, what all the things negatively I am and what I can't do. So it's a lifelong path to find out how to heal that. And yeah, so there was a lot of resonating in that, and I can see how when I was like in adolescence, there was a great crisis in all of that falling down on me, right? Depression, eating disorder, parents breaking up, and the whole drama that can happen in an adolescent life, and that as well brought me onto that path of healing. So I think how you summarize this trust passage, or this trust package, is a really well thought and felt summary of that. And
yeah,
what else do you want to know?
Yeah. You told us a lot.
Yeah, I did.
I
You
feel like
opened
I've
the box
known
of the
you for
Pandora.
No, it's interesting, because one of the things we forget as we get older is that our childhood has had such a big impact on us, and as a child we're very aware of all the undercurrents that, I can say, hello, how are you, happy to see you, and then I can be thinking, God, get away from me, leave me alone, and the child will pick up that your words are not matching your energy, so it becomes quite confusing and conflicting. And considering the majority of us adults are struggling to be honest with ourselves, that we're not taking in accountability for all that that is impacting. So, the old saying that our childhood takes a lifetime to resolve is probably fairly true.
Exactly.
So,
and it opens like doors, like working through that, through these wounds opens doors of connection and creating wisdoms for like connecting to a very unique crowd of people who experience a similar wound. And so in that we can then like generate growth with each other, mirroring each other in the path and everything that also that perspective taught us. Earlier I had this beautiful like a metaphor that actually we need two things to change. We need, first of all, our instrument, talking in like a scientific setup now, we need our instrument, our perception and awareness, to broaden the perception of what is happening. For example, practically from victim stage to a wholesome, holistic spectrum of self-awareness where all of that is part, the creator and the victim, and that we can choose which direction we go. And also enough situations to prove ourselves, like the data that we collect, to prove ourselves something is changing while I'm taking these steps. And this is how community comes in so beautifully, especially when it is about trust, for example. What we often love to do in our mentoring programs is that we not only work one-on-one, but that we have this heroic tribe, this tribe of people in the academy who are all mirroring each other. And that creates such more beautiful surface to play around, and more data to work with, and integrate in oneself, to actually learn, wow, I'm growing, this is improving, my wounds are healing. And that's really beautiful.
Yeah, it is, and it's an important part of it. I always say to clients, like, make sure you celebrate the wins, and make sure you celebrate your awareness that something did change, or you responded, even if it's just slightly different. You responded different, and you didn't automatically move back into that victim mentality, or whatever their issue is, whatever is their prominent issue. That's brilliant. So Camille, would you like the same book, or do you want me to throw it in and randomly see where we end up? Options.
Let's randomly get a new book.
Randomly, righto. All right. Well, where we're in, so they're mixed up. So you've got 3 books to pick from.
The third one, please.
It's the same book. That's random. So the same thing. So we're going to find out a little bit about your soul and your soul journey. So 189 to 215. Can I have a number that resonates with you?
203.
Okay, and you have, sorry, You've got 4 paragraphs to pick from.
Number 2.
Number 2, and this comes under the heading integrity. Integrity enables you to be aware of the importance of your soul and to feel and respond from the energy of your soul's consciousness. When you lovingly support your own soul, you feel the free-flowing energy within you, which is undamaged and not divided by any deception. Integrity is to adhere to and trust your original intention to experience the truth of your reality and respond to life from truthful honesty. Integrity is maintaining your awareness of your present moment, your options, and the value of truth. It is to make decisions with commitment and fortitude that support trusting your own feelings and your awareness of truth. Big paragraph.
I had to think like, oh, that's like the hero feeling inside, right? Like if you feel you are a hero for your life, and also means that you are connected with what, like the energy and soul that is within you. And there was something in the last sentence. Could you read? I think it's the last part.
It is to make decisions with commitment and fortitude that support trusting your own feelings and your awareness of truth.
This making decision with commitment is, I think, also something where a lot of people struggle with, because everyone is connected with their soul and with their body. It's rather like, do they hear it and do they listening to it as well? And making a decision is so difficult for a lot of people, because there are these two voices. There's the rational mind that has been raised by society and what is right and what is wrong. And then there's your gut feeling, or your soul, who has maybe a totally different perspective and knowledge on how to make a decision in regards to the subject. And I truly believe the decision that you take from your gut, from your heart, will be the right decision from you. It's important to bring in maybe some rational ideas, but really unfolding your path you can do when you listen to what is there in your gut feeling. And sometimes it just feels or seems unrational for the outside world, and also maybe for your own brain. You feel like, well, that's crazy. Why would I do that now? Everything tells me this is unsecure. It won't bring me money. It won't bring me, I don't know, a house. But my feeling says I should go now that way.
Those decisions are hard sometimes when you've got all your conditioning coming at you, and it's like, there's an integrity in this. I know I can feel it, but I've got to trust myself to go into, the unknown, or into that shaky ground of this could go either way. But I think when you really start trusting, like you said, when you really start trusting that, it all seems to fall into place for you. So that sense of security comes fairly quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And sometimes you also like really then see it as what was your rational mind when some time has kind of passed, and then you look back and then oh yeah, that was the right moment. And
hindsight's a beautiful thing. There's lots of clarity. So what would you like to do, Sascha? Would you like me to put the book back, or would you like to just go for the book?
Well, put the book back, please. And,
okay.
I saw because I know them that the ladies used muscle tests to determine which book. So I will do the same. It's one of our secret tricks. We just do it with selves.
Okay, all right. So I've randomly put them together. So there's 3 books. What would you like?
Awesome. It's number 2 for me. It's the same book.
Same book.
Yay! The book of the day.
The book of the day. All right. So
you already know the pages, Sascha. Which one do you want?
Test your memory. 189 to 215.
199, please.
199. Okay. So you have 4 paragraphs to pick from.
Number 4, please.
Okay, so number 4 comes under the heading of hope. Hope is unconditional love for your own courage and optimism, which can be difficult when you feel demoralized or believe you are helpless or damaged. Your soul's consciousness is never damaged. Just your awareness is corrupted when you feel impaired. When you lose awareness of the truth of your soul and feel overwhelmed by your experience of life, despair can reside where hope used to dwell. Hope inspires and creates prospects. When you lose hope, instead of having a panoramic view of yourself and your potential, you congest your perception of yourself with your past, fears, hurts, and disappointments. This can cause you to be depleted of opportunities and can leave you wallowing in despair and your own indifference towards yourself. So I don't know where you sit with that one, but it's...
I love it actually. And I was thinking that hope is one of these intrinsic qualities of the universe and of our soul, that kind of everything is hope, everything is love, everything is possibility. And we just created these layers of mud around it, so we can't access it. And we just yesterday I talked about it with Camilla, that we see it in some of our clients, and we certainly see it in ourselves as well, that we very often have these stories. And stories are a beautiful thing, but stories are also very often these layers, these membranes over our own soul and our own potential that we sometimes cannot penetrate. And under that is just shining hopefulness, and everything is possible. But we created this story that we are helpless, for example, in one aspect, or that we are wounded, or that we are not capable of doing something. And we certainly have some clients where we can even feel that it's so visible that there is still this story, which is the only hindrance between them and this absolute greatness that they are thriving for. It's just this layer of a story. And I certainly was carrying a story of, unfairness is one of my wounds. I very often felt treated unfair, not so much by other people, kind of by the universe itself.
All right.
It's a tricky wound to have.
Yeah. Go for the big one.
And the two of them, they know that it sometimes comes out again. And I've been an entrepreneur all of my life, and I've been in so many different projects, and things go wrong. And if you experienced something in that lines already in your early childhood, then it's easy to get triggered by it, and then it grows into a layer of story that tells you, well, things rarely go perfect. Most of the time, someone comes along, the universe comes along and says, hey, no, Sascha, you're not ready. You're not allowed this success now. And so this becomes something that, and I know that now, this is in the end the blockage. The blockage is not the universe. It's the story that I created as,
It's fascinating when you break. Well, I mean, you would do it when you're working with people. Is that the narrative that we've got going is very strong. You know, like I often speak of not good enough energy, and I you know, like I haven't met a person that hasn't got some form of that, including myself. And I'm like you. Every now and then I trip myself up, and I can easily go down into that, you know, that not good enough stuff. And then you got to remind yourself, well, hang on, you know, what are you doing? You're just running a story. And we look for evidence too. We look for evidence to prove our story, even when we know it's really just, you know, self-pity and a bit of, disillusionment and despair because we're not, not getting what we want, but we will look for evidence. So it is fascinating, the stories that people run in their head. And it's sad we don't recognize ourselves more as the true soul of who we are and operate from there. So I love that you guys are helping people find their path and their soul purpose. I'd say they have a lot of fun and some very big moments with you guys. So
Thank you. And we also have big moments with them, I'm sure.
yeah, I always think you teach what you need to learn. That's how it all works. It all sort of mixes in together. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you for being on the podcast, and we'll put a link so everyone can find you if they're interested. And I've enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you.
We
Me too,
enjoyed
a
it.
lot.
Thank you so much, Lorraine.
Yes,
No
thank you.
worries.
So thank you
That's
for these
good.
great questions.